So now it's time to start with the CSS part of the project. So for that we need to install .css file. So here I'm going to first select the universal selector, which is this particular one, to reset the default styling of the browser. So here I will be using the padding to actually 0. Then margin is going to be 0 as well. And after that I will be using the box sizing to actually border box. Then you can see the default styling of the browser is actually changed. Then I will be here selecting the body selector, starting its block of the code, and then I will be here using the height, which is going to be like 100 VH, and then I will be adding here a background, that is this particular one, and then I will be here providing the linear gradient function. So the angle is going to be like 135 degree. Then I need to here provide the color code, which is going to be like 00B4DB. Okay, and then I need to here provide the another color code, which is going to be like 0083B0. Alright, so if I control save it, then you can see the linear gradient color effect is actually applied to the background. After that, we need to apply the style sheet code to the container so that we can display the container at the center of the browser screen. So here I will be adding the container and starting its block of the code, and then I will be here using the width, that is this one, which is going to like 400 pixel, and then I will be adding here a background color, that is this particular one, which is going to like hash symbol 3 times, actually 6 times F. You can see now the background color is actually applied to the container. Then I need to add the padding. So padding from top and bottom is going to like 50 pixel. Then from left and right it is going to like 30 pixel. So you can see 30 pixel padding is actually added to the left and right, and also the padding is added 50 pixel from top and bottom. Then I need to use the here position, which is going to be like absolute, and after that I will be adding here a transform translate, that is this particular one, which is going to like minus 50%, and I will be again using here a minus 50%. So I will be using here a translate and transform functionality. Okay, so now we can use the top and left right properties because we have used the position. So here I will be adding the 50%, and after that I will be adding here a left, which is going to be 50% as well. Control save it, then you can see now the container is actually shifted to the center of the browser screen. So I actually placed the container at the center without using flex properties. So it is a different approach I have used it, which is most common in CSS world. Then I will be adding the border radius, which is going to be like 10 pixel. Okay, and then I need to add the box shadow so that there should be a nice card-like structure. So box shadow, which is going to like 25 pixel, then 25 pixel again, not 15 pixel, it is going to like 25 pixel, and after that I will be adding here a 30 pixel. Then I will be here using the RGBA, so 0 0 0, and the alpha is going to like 0.15. Control save it, then you can see the box shadow is actually applied to the container. It's time to add the color. So color is going to like hash symbol 1111. Okay, control save it, then you can see the color is also applied to the container. And then I can add the animation. So animation, so the name of the animation is going to like container animation. Okay, it is going to like 2s is animation. Okay, so now it's time to create the keyframes for this particular animation. So keyframes, the identifier name is going to be like container. So this will be the animations, container animation. So copy it, and I'm going to paste it here. Okay, container animation, and then I will be here using this 0%. So 0% and starting its block of the code, and then I need to provide the 100%, that is this particular one, and starting its block of the code. Okay, so inside the 0% I will be using the opacity to 0, and then I need to use the transform, that is this particular one, which is going to be like translate minus 50%, comma, and then minus 60%, not plus, it is going to like minus. All right, and then simply I'm going to copy this particular code and pasting it here. So opacity is going to be like 1, and this is the code which is going to like minus 50%, translate and transform. So if I control save it, then you can see now there is a animation is actually performed inside the container. Okay, now it's time to add the code for the label. So here I will be using the label comma, then input, and after that I need to use the error message, which is this particular ID. If I come back to the index.html, so this is the error message ID, which is the paragraph element. So I'm going to here selecting the multiple selectors and starting its block of the codes. So here I will be using the font family to actually sense error. Then you can see the font is actually changed to label inputs and error message. Okay, so now it's time to actually style the label a little bit. So label, and starting its block of the code. Inside the label, first I'm going to select the display to inline block. Then I will be here using the font weight, not font size. It's going to like font weight, which is going to be like 500. Then I need to use the margin bottom property, which is going to be like 10 pixel. Okay, so now it's time to add the code for the input type. So input, then we need to specify the type. So for that I will be using the square brackets. So type, then this is going to be equals to email, and then I need to start its block of the code. Okay, so the first thing is I need to set the display to inline block, and after that I need to apply the border. So border, that is this particular one, which is going to like 2 pixel border, solid border, and then I need to provide the color. So color is going to like D1, D3, D4. Control save it. Then you can see the border is actually applied. Then I need to add the width property. So width is going to like 88%. Once I did that, then you can see it's actually shifted to the next line. Then I need to provide the height. So height is going to like 50 pixel. And after that, I need to provide the border radius, which is going to be like 5 pixel. Then I need to provide the outline. So outline is going to be none. So if I control save it, then you can see the height is actually increased and the outline is actually none. It's time to add the letter spacing. So letter spacing is going to be like 0.5 pixel. And then I need to add the font weight, which is going to like 400. And then I need to provide the padding, which is going to like 5 pixel. Control save it. So you can see it's actually getting a shape just like the final version. Okay, so that marks the completion of the code for the input type. It's time to add the code for these icons and for the error message as well. So here I will be using the hash symbol icon. So icon, so the first thing is we need to actually use the float property. So I want to use float, means actually move the icon to the right, and then I will be using the height, which is going to be like 50 pixel, and then I will be using the position to be relative. Okay, and then I need to use the font size, that is this particular one, which is going to like 25 pixel, and after that I will be adding the padding from top, which is going to be like 10 pixel. Okay, and now it's time to actually style the error message. So error hyphen message, and then I need to start its block of the code. So here I will need to add the display to none, and then I need to add the color property, that is this particular one, which is going to like hash symbol FF2851. And then I need to use the font size, which is going to like 14 pixel, and then I need to add the margin top, which is going to like 10 pixel. Control save it. So you can see now, right now the error message is actually gets hide because we have set the display to none, because we want to display it once we are actually typing the email. So if the email is not a valid one, then we want to display a error message along with the wrong icon. Okay, and if the email is valid, then we want to display a valid icon by changing the border color to green as well of the input type. So all of this stuff we're going to do in the JavaScript part, which is the next part for this particular project, which is the email validation project. So now it's time to start with the JavaScript part of the project. So for that, we need to use the script.js file. Instead of this particular file, first we need to create here a couple of variables. So the first variable I will be creating here is the email ID. Email ID, then this is going to be equals to document.getElementById, and then I need to here specify the ID of the element that I want to actually initialize it to this particular variable. So here I will be using the ID of the input type. So if I come back to the index.html, so here this particular input type So it has an ID, email ID. So I'm going to copy this particular email ID. Then coming back to the script.js, and here I will be pasting the name of the email ID. Then I will be creating the another variable of the error message. Error message, and this is going to be equals to document dot get element by ID, and then here I need to specify the name of the ID. So this is going to be like error hyphen message, right? And then coming back to index.html, so this is the error message, because if I actually come back here, if I did anything wrong like this particular one, then you can see this paragraph element, which is this particular one right now, is going to be displayed. So that is why we need to add a logic. So for that reason, we need to actually bind it with the variable, means we need to initialize its IDs to the variables of the JavaScript, so that we can actually add a logic dynamically by using the JavaScript language. Then similarly for the icon, we need to create the another variable. So coming back to the our version of the application, so here it is also going to be of type let, means the variable will be created by using the let, because these variables value will be updated multiple times. That is the reason. So here I will be adding the let icon, and then I need to specify the ID of the icon. So here you can see this is the division element in which we are going to add the font awesome icon. So here I will be specifying the ID icon. Okay, so now we have added all the variables. It's time to actually create the function which is going to be triggered on this particular event. So if I hover over it, then you can see the value of the element changes over the content of the element with the attributes and content editable. Okay, so it's actually content editable is modified. So whenever the value of the input type is modified, this event is going to be fired, means this particular event. Okay, so for that we need to create this particular function inside our JavaScript. So copy the name of the function, or you can even type it manually. So I'm going to here use the function keyword, then type pasting the name of the copied function, then starting its block of the code. And also I need to create a one more function which is going to be like validate email. Okay, and then starting its block of the code. So this is the most important function, because validate is going to be like used to actually validate the email. All right, this will be the important function. So first I need to add here logics, then I will be explaining it. So the first thing is, like if I actually open the final version of the application, so that it will become easy for me to actually explain the concept. So I have actually added the proper email, which is a valid email. So here I will be first creating a variable which is like at index. So this is going to be equal to like email dot, and here I will be using the index of and then to specify the which is like this at the rate, and here this particular function is going to accept an email. So this particular function is going to accept an email, which is the value of the input type. So where we are going to call it, we are going to call it inside the checker. So once we are calling it, we need to pass the value of the email ID to this particular validate email function as an argument. So once it's actually having an argument, means it has a email, just like here if I copy the email and pasting it, so this particular value will be stored inside this particular email. Then we need to find the index of this particular at the rate. This is the index of function. We are actually dealing with the strings. Okay, so this will basically find the position of the symbol at the rate, because so that we can actually add the logic. Then we need to create the another variable which is going to be like dot index is equal to, then this is going to be like email dot, and here I will be using the last index of, and we need to find out the index of this particular dot. So finding the position of the last dot. So this basically does what? Is going to find the position of the last dot, because if we specify a dot here and hello 3, like you can simply, or you can simply name it as like Vijay233, then dot Kumar. Sometimes the email ID has multiple dots, but still you can see it's actually a valid email, because the logic is actually calculated the last dot index. Okay, so once we have these two indexes, then we can add some if conditions. So I will be adding the if conditions, then I will be explaining you. I'm going to split the if conditions into multiple lines so that it will become easy for us to actually understand the conditions. So if at index is actually greater than 0, alright, then we need to compound it by using the logical AND operator, means we need to combine multiple statements. This particular condition will take care that the @ is not going to be the first character if we didn't specify this condition. So if we actually enter @ at the front, then it's going to actually treat this particular email as a valid email, but it is actually not a valid email because the email can't be started with the @ character. So that is the reason the first condition will take care this particular problem. And then we need to add the second condition, which is like dot index, and then we need to actually compare it with the at index. So at index plus 1, and then I need to again use the logical AND operator so that I can combine with the second index. So here it is actually our dot index, not down index. So this particular condition will take care that the dot character, that is this particular one, should be after the @ symbol, means it's going to compare that there should at least some characters exist between the dot, that is this particular one, and the @ symbol. So this particular condition will take care that thing. Alright, then we need to add the third condition, that is dot index, and then it is actually going to be smaller email dot length minus 2. Alright, so this particular condition will take care that the domain name, so @gmail, so this once it finds the dot, then it's going to, you can see here, I actually can remove here the third character. Still it's going to display it as a valid email, because sometimes you have a company websites, so like you have a merchandise.cov.com, like a simple co, so you can have a co.com or maybe a cc. So sometimes for the saving of the money, company buys a cheap domain, so still you can see you get a valid email because maybe your email ID will be created, and at the end of the email it is going to be ended with the .co domain or maybe .cc or .pk, .tk. These kinds of email domains will be existed, because most of the time email will be company emails, or I can say that the official company emails will be created by using the same domain that has a website name. Alright, I think you are getting my point, what I am actually want to say it here. So all of these three conditions once met, then we need to return true. So return is going to be here true. In the else part, what I want to do here, I want to return the false. If any of the thing is not satisfied, then I need to return here a false. Alright, means it's not a valid email. Okay, so if I control save it, now we need to add the things inside this checker function, means we need to update the style. So if I actually come back to email validation, which is the our version of the application, so here first I need to actually select the icon style dot and display is equal to, I need to set it to inline block hyphen block. Okay, inline block, and then I need to here use the let email, that is going to be equals to here email id, that is the variable name that we have created at the top, email id dot value dot not Arial Vex, it is like value trim, and then I need to start its brackets function. So it's going to trim the spaces before and after the value and going to be stored inside this particular variable. Alright, after that we need to add the logic. So if email is actually equals to empty, then means the input type, right now you can see the input type is empty. If I actually come back to the final version of the application, you can see if I actually remove the email from the input type, then you can see it actually goes back to its normal state. The icon is removed, and also the paragraph element is actually removed, which is basically we will be using only in case of the error. Alright, So in order to actually take back to the input type to its normal state, we need to actually take care for this condition. We need to use this logic for taking back to the input to its normal state. So here I will be using the icon style dot display, not direction. It's going to be like display is equal to, and here I will be using the none. And now I will be here using the error message dot style dot display, that is this particular one, and again I will be here setting it to none. And after that I need to here simply use the email ID, which is the input type variable. Then I need to update the style border, so it's going to be a border, and here I will be adding the values that I have added inside this CSS. If I come back here, so where is our input type? So input type is here, and we have these values. I'm going to copy this particular similar values from the CSS part, copy it, coming back to the script.js, and here I will be pasting the name, means the values that I have copied. And then I'm going to terminate it, and it's time to actually use the equal to sign as well, because it is actually giving the red squiggly line. So if I control save it, and now if I actually come back here, if I enter here some values, and if I remove it, it's going to take back to its normal state. If actually here increase the border pixel, control save it, and now if I enter some values, and now it's actually coming back to its normal state, you can see the changes is actually reflected back to the input type. The border size is actually 20 pixel. So I'm now actually taking back to its to 2 pixel, control save it, entering some values, now coming back to its normal state. You can see now the border is actually having 2 pixel. Even I can change the color, like here pink, control save it, enter some values, now remove it. Then you can see now the border is changes to pink. Now I'm actually taking back to its into normal state, which is the default state. Now it's time to actually check for the error case. All right, so if it is a valid email, then we need to check for the error case. All right, so here I will be doing what, like else, in the else block I need to check it if it is a valid email. So valid email, so here I will be using the function valid email, and then I need to pass the value of the email, which is actually stored inside this particular variable, which is the value of the input type. So here our email ID variable, like whatever you will type here, if like you are actually taking the example, just like we are actually taking the example. So if I copy it, and now we are actually passing the value here. Now this value is actually passed here inside this particular variable, and now it will be passed here to this particular function for its further processing. Okay, so this particular condition will be used for the valid email. So that is why we are actually here calling the validate email function. If it is a valid, then we want to perform this block of code, and if it is not valid, then we need to perform the else block by changing the CSS to its error state, just like here. Okay, so now coming back to the else if part first, here I will be first updating the icon dot like our inner HTML and is equal to, and then I need to use a single quotes. So icon, then I need to here specify the class equals to, and fas fa hyphens check, and then I need to here use the hyphen circle. Right, then we need to close the I tag. Actually it is a little tricky to type inside the double quotes sometime. So now we have actually updated the inner HTML. That we need to actually update the color of the border and also the icon color, and also we need to update the style of the icon. So for that, here we need to write the couple of lines of the code. So first I'm going to use the icon style dot, and here I need to change the color. Then this is going to be equals to like has symbol 2ECC71. All right, and after that I need to actually use the error message, that is this particular one, dot style dot, and then I will be using the display is equals to, and here I will be using the none. All right, and also I need to add the terminator here. After that updating the error message, because once we have a valid email, we don't want to actually display it here any paragraph element. That is the reason error message style display is going to be none. Okay, and then I will be here using the email ID dot style dot, and this is going to be like border. So we need to actually update the color of the border. So the color of the border, I'm going to copy this particular line of the code, pasting it, and then I'm going to simply changing the color to green. Okay, control save it, and now if I actually here enter a valid email, I'm going to copy the email ID, pasting it, then you can see it's going to display a valid email by just changing the color to green, and also here changing the icon color to something like green. I can here even add a black color. Okay, if I control save it, enter a valid email, then you can see we get a black tick color, but I want to display it in a green. Similarly, we need to actually add the logic if we enter a invalid email. Alright, so I'm just going to copy these 4 lines of the code, copy it, pasting it inside the else block, and here I need to change the icon. So FAS, and here I need to update the icon name. So it is going to be like exclamation hyphen circle. Alright, okay, and then I need to change the icon style color. So it is going to like hash symbol FF2851. Then I need to display the error style message to actually block level element. And after that, I need to update the color of the border also. So here I'm going to change it to red. Control save it, and now if I actually enter any invalid email, then you can see it's going to say it as please enter a valid email ID. Actually, I need to actually change this character to lowercase. So coming back to index.html, making it simple, control save it, and now coming back to the script.js. So I'm going to enter some invalid emails. Then you can see please enter a valid email ID. It actually showing the sign of exclamation circle. Also our paragraph element and the color of the border is also changed. Okay, so now our application is working perfectly fine. The only thing that I can do it here is actually I have forgot to add terminator in 2 places. So here I need to add the terminator, and also in this particular place also. It doesn't matter in the JavaScript if you add a terminator at the end of the line, but I actually made my habit as like I actually adding the terminator. Alright, so that marks the completion of this particular module. So if you like this module, then leave your review, because your review motivates me to create more awesome and unique projects like this. So thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next module. Thank you very much.